June 14th, 2000, Los Angeles, California. 2:37 p.m. Harrison Ford, 58 years old, sits in a makeup chair at NBC Studios, foundation powder on his cheeks, microphone clipped to his collar. In 90 minutes, 18 million people will watch him live on national television, $4 million in advertising sold, 47 crew members preparing cameras, lights, teleprompters. Then his phone rings, a 307 area code, Wyoming. He answers. The voice on the other end is shaking. Mr. Ford, a 13-year-old boy is dying in Table Mountain. We have maybe 12 hours. You're our last option. Ford looks at the mirror, at the cameras, at the countdown clock on the wall. He has two choices. He makes a third. What happens in the next 4 hours will cost him $2 million, destroy relationships with network executives, and create headlines that will call him unprofessional, unreliable, and unstable. But it will also save a life that nobody will ever make a movie about. Here is the story. The makeup artist's name is Sandra. She's worked with Ford 6 times before. She knows his routine: light foundation, minimal powder, no lipstick. He sits still in the chair, doesn't talk much, never has. Outside the dressing room, producers review notes. The interview is simple: 12 minutes live, plug the new film, tell a funny story from set, smile, wave, done. The host has prepared 7 questions. Ford has approved 5 of them. Everything is scheduled, controlled, predictable. Then the phone vibrates in his jacket pocket. Ford doesn't normally answer during prep, but something about the persistence, 3 buzzes, stop, 3 more buzzes, makes him reach for it. Sandra steps back. Ford looks at the screen. Unknown number, 307 prefix, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. He knows that area code. He's flown over those mountains 200 times. He answers, "Mr. Ford?" The voice is male, mid-40s, breathing hard. "This is Derek Paulson. I'm coordinating search and rescue in Teton County." Ford sits up straighter. What happened? A Boy Scout named Cody Clausen, 13 years old, separated from his troop on Table Mountain 36 hours ago. Temperature tonight drops to 19 degrees Fahrenheit. We've been searching with 2 helicopters, but neither has the range to cover the northwest quadrant. We just got a weak signal from his emergency beacon. It's fading. We think he's hypothermic. We need someone who can fly long range and land in rough terrain. Ford doesn't ask why they called him. He already knows. He's one of 14 volunteer rescue pilots registered in Wyoming. He's also the only one with a Bell 407 helicopter capable of mountain rescue. Where exactly? Northwest face, 43.8 degrees north, 110.6 degrees west. The terrain is... I know the terrain. Ford does. He's landed there twice before, once to rescue a hiker with a broken leg, once to evacuate a ranger during a wildfire. Both times other pilots said the landing was impossible. Both times he did it anyway. Can you help us? Ford looks at the clock on the wall. 2:44 p.m. The interview starts at 4 p.m. Jackson Hole is 847 miles away, 3 hours and 52 minutes flight time. If he leaves now... Sandra is staring at him. A producer knocks on the door. "Mr. Ford, we need you on set in 15 minutes for lighting checks." Ford stands up. "I'll be there in 4 hours. Mr. Ford, that might be 4 hours. Send me the exact coordinates." He hangs up, pulls off the microphone, wipes the makeup off his face with a towel. Sandra doesn't move, just watches. Ford looks at her. "I'm sorry, I have to go." He walks past the producer in the hallway. The man's face goes pale. "Mr. Ford, the show starts in 76 minutes. I know. We have 18 million viewers confirmed. The advertisers, I know. We have a contract. There are penalties. I know." Ford keeps walking. Down the hallway. Past the green room where 3 other guests are waiting. Past the studio entrance where security guards check badges. He doesn't explain, doesn't apologize, just leaves. Behind him, chaos erupts. 14 producers receive the same text message at 2:51 p.m. Ford is gone. 3 of them are in meetings. 4 are reviewing camera angles. 7 are on phone calls with advertisers confirming final spots. All of them stop what they're doing, call his agent, his manager, his publicist. Nobody answers, because Ford already called them himself. Told them exactly 3 words: cancel the interview. His agent, Rebecca Marks, asks the obvious question: why? Ford is already in his car, driving towards Santa Monica Airport. Someone needs help. Harrison, you're contracted for $500,000 for this appearance. If you don't show up, the penalties— I know the penalties. $2 million in breach damages, plus the studio will— Rebecca, a kid is dying in Wyoming right now. While we're having this conversation, his body temperature is dropping. In 12 hours, he'll be dead. I don't care about the contract. Silence on the other end. Long, heavy. They're going to destroy you in the press. Let them. Ford hangs up. He arrives at Santa Monica Airport at 3:14 p.m. His Bell 407 is already prepped. He does this flight twice a month, flies to Wyoming for volunteer rescue shifts. Unpaid, unannounced. The FAA knows, the local sheriffs know, the media doesn't. He prefers it that way. He climbs into the cockpit, runs pre-flight checks, fuel full, hydraulics optimal, weather clear skies until hour 3, then possible turbulence over Utah. He straps in, puts on the headset, starts the engine. The rotors begin to spin, slow at first, then faster. The whole frame vibrates. He doesn't think about the interview, doesn't think about the money. Thinks about a 13-year-old kid named Cody Clausen who made one wrong turn on a hiking trail and is now 36 hours into what might be the last 48 hours of his life. Ford lifts off at 3:23 p.m. At exactly 4:00 p.m., NBC cuts to the studio. The host walks out, smiles at the camera. Tonight we have Harrison Ford joining us to talk about— A producer in his earpiece interrupts. The host's smile freezes. He ad-libs. Actually, we have a scheduling conflict. Let's go to our next guest. 18 million people change the channel. 47 crew members pack up equipment. 14 advertisers call their lawyers. And 847 miles away, Harrison Ford is flying at 140 mph over the Mojave Desert, heading toward a coordinate where a boy he's never met is running out of time. Table Mountain, Wyoming. Cody Clausen has been awake for 34 hours, not by choice, by survival. Sleep in this temperature means death. He learned that in Boy Scouts. Hypothermia happens in stages. First you shiver, then you stop shivering. That's when you're dying. Cody stopped shivering 2 hours ago. He's behind a rock formation on the northwest face. Elevation, 9,200 feet. Temperature, 23 degrees and dropping. He's wearing a thermal jacket, hiking boots, cargo pants, all standard gear, none of it designed for overnight exposure. His emergency beacon died 40 minutes ago. Weak battery. He pressed the button 847 times in the last 36 hours. Nobody came. He stopped pressing at 3:15 p.m. Decided to save his energy, or maybe he just gave up. He's not sure which. His lips are cracked, tongue swollen. He hasn't had water in 19 hours. The canteen ran out yesterday morning. He tried eating snow. It made him colder. So he stopped. Now he just sits, breathes, watches the sky change color. Pink, orange, dark blue. The sun is setting. That's bad. Night means temperatures in the teens. His body can't handle teens. He thinks about his parents, Steve and Margaret. They're probably at the search command post right now, probably crying, probably being told, "We're doing everything we can," which is what people say when they're not doing enough. He thinks about his little sister, Emma. She's 9. She made him a friendship bracelet before the trip, tied it around his wrist herself, said, "So you remember to come home." He looks at the bracelet now. It's dirty, frayed, still there. Cody closes his eyes. Not to sleep, just to rest, just for a second. That's when he hears it, faint, distant, a rhythmic thumping. He opens his eyes, looks up. The sky is darkening fast. He squints, sees nothing, but the sound is getting louder, closer. Thump, 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 thump. He knows that sound. Helicopter. He tries to stand. His legs don't work. He falls, tries again, uses the rock for support, pulls himself up, waves his arms, screams. His voice cracks, barely audible. He keeps waving, keeps screaming. The helicopter passes overhead, doesn't stop. Keeps going. Cody collapses, doesn't cry, doesn't have the energy, just lies there, staring at the sky. The sound fades, then stops. Silence. He closes his eyes again. 10 minutes later, the sound returns. Harrison Ford has been flying for 3 hours and 41 minutes. His fuel gauge reads 28%. That's cutting it close, dangerously close. The coordinates Derek sent are exact, but the terrain is massive. 47 square miles of dense forest, rock formations and elevation changes. Finding one 13-year-old in this is like finding a needle in a warehouse full of haystacks. He's made 11 passes over the northwest quadrant, seen nothing. Fuel is now at 24%. He has maybe 20 minutes before he has to turn back. If he turns back, Cody Clausen dies. Ford doesn't turn back. He drops altitude, 200 feet above the canopy now. Dangerous. One wind shear and he hits trees. But low altitude means better visibility. He scans the ground. Rocks, trees, shadows. More rocks, more trees. More shadows. His eyes hurt. He's been staring without blinking for 40 minutes. He blinks now, just once. That's when he sees it. Small, insignificant, a flash of reflected light. He banks left, circles back. There, again, something metallic. He descends another 50 feet, too low, reckless. The rotors are 30 feet from treetops. He hovers, stares, sees movement. An arm, waving, weak, barely there, but waving. Ford doesn't hesitate. He scans the terrain. No flat ground, no clearing. Just rocks and a 34-degree incline. Landing here violates every safety protocol he's ever learned. His flight instructor, a man named Bill Harmon, told him once, "If the slope is over 30 degrees, you don't land. You find another spot." Ford doesn't have another spot, doesn't have time to find one. He adjusts the cyclic, drops slowly. The landing gear touches rock, shifts. The whole helicopter tilts left. Ford compensates. Right pedal, gentle. The frame stabilizes. The skids settle. He cuts the engine, but leaves the rotors spinning. Safety protocol. Keep the engine running for quick evacuation. Ford ignores it, shuts everything down, grabs his medical kit, opens the door, steps out. The wind hits him immediately, cold, sharp, 40 mph gusts. He runs toward the rock formation, sees the kid, face pale, lips blue, eyes half closed. Ford kneels. "Cody!" The kid's eyes flutter, open, focus. "Who are you?" "Someone who's getting you out of here." Ford checks his pulse. Weak. 52 beats per minute. Normal is 60-100. He checks skin temperature, cold, clammy. Hypothermia, stage 2, maybe stage 3. He needs to warm him gradually, but there's no time for gradually. He wraps Cody in his own flight jacket, lifts him. The kid weighs 114 pounds. Ford is 58 years old. Lifting 114 pounds after flying for 4 hours should be impossible. He does it anyway. He carries Cody to the helicopter, places him in the back seat, turns the cabin heater to maximum, straps him in. Cody's eyes are closing again. Ford taps his face. "Stay awake. Talk to me." "About what?" "Anything. Tell me about the friendship bracelet." Cody looks at his wrist. Smiles, barely. "My sister made it." "What's her name?" "Emma." "Tell me about Emma." Cody talks, slow, mumbling. Ford doesn't care what he says, just needs him conscious. He climbs into the pilot seat, starts the engine. The rotors spin. He checks the fuel gauge. 19%. Barely enough. St. John's Medical Center is 37 miles southeast. 12 minutes of flight. He has 14 minutes of fuel. He lifts off. The helicopter rises. Unstable. The weight distribution is off. Cody in the back. No counterbalance. Ford compensates. Manual adjustments. Left pedal, right cyclic. It's like flying a shopping cart with one broken wheel. He doesn't care. He gets altitude, levels out, points southeast, pushes the throttle. 12 minutes. They make it in 11. St. John's Medical Center, Jackson Hole. 7:52 p.m. Ford lands on the helipad. 2 paramedics are waiting. They open the door, pull Cody out, rush him inside. Ford doesn't follow, just sits in the cockpit. Hands still on the controls. Breathing. His heart rate is 110, has been for 4 hours. Now it starts to slow. He closes his eyes just for a moment. A paramedic knocks on the window. Ford opens his eyes, opens the door. Is he okay? Hypothermia stage 2. He'll survive. You got him here just in time. The paramedic looks at Ford closer, squints. Wait, are you... No! Ford steps out, stretches. His back hurts. His shoulders hurt. Everything hurts. I need to refuel. We can arrange. I'll handle it. Ford walks toward the terminal. Away from the hospital, away from questions. He calls Derek Paulson, tells him Cody is safe. Derek asks if he can release Ford's name to the press. Ford says no. Derek asks why. Ford doesn't answer, just hangs up. He refuels at Jackson Hole Airport. Pays with his own credit card, $847. The attendant doesn't recognize him. Ford prefers it that way. He takes off at 9:15 p.m., flies back to Los Angeles. The flight is quiet, dark, stars above, nothing below. He thinks about Cody, about Emma, about the friendship bracelet, about how close it came to being a memorial bracelet instead. He lands in Santa Monica at 12:43 a.m. 14 missed calls on his phone, 6 from his agent, 4 from his publicist, 3 from NBC executives. 1 from his lawyer. He doesn't listen to any of them. Just drives home, parks in the garage, walks inside. His wife Melissa is awake, waiting. Where were you? Wyoming. I know that. Rebecca told me. What I mean is, why? Ford sits down, takes off his boots. A kid needed help. And the interview? Wasn't important. Melissa doesn't argue, doesn't lecture, just sits next to him. Are you going to be in trouble? Probably. How much trouble? $2 million. Maybe more. Ford leans back, closes his eyes. But the kid is alive, so it doesn't matter. Silence. Long. Heavy. Melissa takes his hand. I'm proud of you. Ford squeezes back. Don't tell anyone, please. She doesn't. 3 days later, the Jackson Hole News publishes a 4-paragraph article on page 12. The headline reads, Local Boy Scout Rescued After 36-Hour Ordeal. The article mentions a volunteer helicopter pilot who flew from out of state to assist in the search. No name, no details. Just 4 paragraphs. Cody's parents, Steve and Margaret Clausen, read it at the hospital. Cody is stable now. Color returning to his face. Doctors say he was hours away from organ failure. Steve asks a nurse, Who brought our son here? A helicopter pilot. What's his name? I don't know. He didn't fill out any forms. Just dropped off your son and left. Steve asks the paramedics. They don't know. He asks the helipad supervisor. Doesn't know. He asks the sheriff's department. They know. But they've been asked not to share. Steve keeps asking for 6 weeks. Finally, a deputy slips, mentions the name Harrison. Steve connects the dots. Harrison, helicopter pilot, Wyoming. There's only one person that fits. He tries calling Ford's office. The assistant is polite but firm. Mr. Ford isn't taking calls right now. Steve writes a letter, mails it to Ford's talent agency. 3 pages, handwritten. Describes what it's like to think your son is dead. What it's like to get the call that he's alive. What it's like to owe someone your child's life and not be able to say thank you. The letter never gets a response. Not because Ford didn't read it. He did, 3 times. but because responding would open a door he wants to keep closed. The door where heroism becomes headlines, where rescue becomes content, where life and death become entertainment. Ford has spent 30 years playing heroes in movies, saving galaxies, defying odds. Always with cameras rolling, always with audiences cheering. But Table Mountain didn't have cameras, didn't have audiences. It just had a kid who needed help and a pilot who said yes. And for Ford, that's the difference. It wasn't entertainment. It was a person's life. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, the fallout continues. NBC sends Ford a breach of contract notice, $1.8 million in damages, advertising revenue lost, crew overtime, legal fees. Ford's lawyer negotiates, settles for $1.2 million. Paid in installments over 2 years, advertisers threaten to blacklist him. Some do. For 6 months, Ford doesn't get a single endorsement offer. Tabloids run stories. Harrison Ford, Hollywood's most unreliable star. Why Harrison Ford is impossible to work with. Inside Harrison Ford's meltdown. None of them mention Wyoming. None of them mention Cody, because nobody knows. Ford refuses to comment. His publicist releases a vague statement. Mr. Ford had a personal emergency and deeply regrets any inconvenience caused. The story dies after 3 weeks, replaced by the next scandal, the next controversy. Hollywood moves on, but Ford doesn't forget. 2 years later, he's offered another NBC interview, prime time. $750,000 appearance fee. His agent pushes hard. This is your chance to repair the relationship. Ford reads the contract. Sees the clause. Participant agrees to prioritize appearance above all other commitments on scheduled date. He circles the clause, writes in the margin, unless someone is dying, sends it back. NBC rejects it. Ford doesn't care. He keeps flying rescue missions, twice a month, sometimes 3 times. Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, unpaid, unannounced. Over the next 15 years, he completes 37 rescue operations, saves 11 lives, evacuates 26 people from dangerous situations. Never gives an interview about any of them, never posts on social media, never mentions them in award speeches. In 2015, a journalist asks him why. Ford's answer is 7 words, because it's not about me. The journalist pushes, but don't people deserve to know about your good work? Ford looks at him. If people only do good work when someone is watching, it's not good work, it's performance. The interview ends, June 14th, 2024. 24 years later. Cody Clausen is 37 years old now. He lives in Billings, Montana, married, 2 kids. Emma, his sister, is 33. She named her daughter after their mother, Margaret. The friendship bracelet is gone, lost somewhere over the years, but Cody still remembers the feeling of waking up in a helicopter, the warmth, the noise, the voice asking about Emma. He never met Harrison Ford again, never had the conversation he imagined 1,000 times. Thank you for saving my life. You changed everything. I owe you everything. He tried once. In 2003, wrote a letter, sent it to Ford's agency, got a response 3 months later. Not from Ford, from an assistant. 2 sentences. Mr. Ford appreciates your kind words. He wishes you and your family all the best. That was it. No meeting, no phone call, no closure, just 2 sentences from an assistant. Cody was angry at first, then he understood. Ford didn't want gratitude, didn't want recognition. He just wanted Cody to live, and Cody did. In 2011, Cody became a helicopter pilot. Took 18 months of training, passed on his 3rd attempt. His instructor asked why he wanted to fly. Cody didn't mention Ford, just said, I want to help people who need it. In 2016, he joined a volunteer search and rescue team in Montana. Flies unpaid missions, 3 times a month, sometimes 4. Over the last 8 years, he's completed 43 rescue operations, saved 14 lives, evacuated 29 people from dangerous situations. He's never given an interview about any of them. On his desk at home, there's a photo. Cody, at 13 years old, taken 3 days after the rescue. He's smiling, not a big smile, just a small one. The kind of smile someone makes when they realize they're alive. Next to the photo, a handwritten quote, "Real heroism doesn't have cameras." Cody's son, Jacob, 9 years old, asks him once, "Dad, why do you fly rescues?" Cody doesn't tell him about Table Mountain, doesn't romanticize trauma. Just says, "Because someone once chose to save me when he had much more important things to do." Jacob doesn't understand yet, but he will. In 2019, Jackson Hole Airport unveils a memorial wall. Volunteer rescue pilots of Teton County. Bronze plaques. 23 names, all pilots who've completed 5 or more rescue missions in the area. Harrison Ford qualifies. 8 missions between 1998 and 2015. The airport committee votes unanimously to include him. They contact his office, request permission. Ford's response comes 3 days later. One sentence. "Please use the space for someone who needs to be remembered." The committee is confused. They call back, explain that it's protocol. Every pilot with 5 missions gets honored. Ford's assistant reads a prepared statement. Mr. Ford appreciates the gesture, but respectfully declines. The plaque is made anyway, installed on the wall, but the name section is left blank. Just a bronze rectangle with an engraved message, "Reserved for those who serve in silence." Nobody says it publicly, but everyone knows who it's for. A film student at USC writes a thesis about the mythology of heroism in cinema versus reality. She interviews 40 people, actors, directors, stunt coordinators, real-life first responders. One question appears in every interview. What's the difference between being a hero in movies and being a hero in real life? Most give philosophical answers. Scripted versus unscripted. Rehearsed versus spontaneous, entertainment versus survival. Then she interviews a retired sheriff from Teton County, Derek Paulson, now 71 years old. He pauses when she asks the question, thinks, then says, "In movies, heroes always get the credit. In real life, the best ones refuse it." She asks him to elaborate. He tells her about June 14th, 2000, about a phone call. About a Hollywood star who canceled a multi-million-dollar interview to fly 847 miles into the mountains. About a 13-year-old boy who wouldn't be alive without him. About how the star demanded anonymity, refused interviews, refused plaques, refused everything except the knowledge that he'd done the right thing. The film student asks, "Did he ever talk about it?" Derek shakes his head. "Never. And that's the point. Real heroes don't need the story told. They just need the person saved." The thesis wins an award, gets published in a film journal. Nobody reads it, except one person, Cody Clausen. He finds it online, reads it twice, sends Derek a message, "Thank you for remembering." Derek responds, "Some things are too important to forget." November 2024. Harrison Ford is 82 years old, still flying, still rescuing. His last mission was 8 months ago. A hiker with a broken leg in Sun Valley, Idaho. Ford flew the evacuation himself. Landed in conditions other pilots called impossible. The hiker never knew who saved him. Ford never told him. A journalist from Vanity Fair approaches Ford's publicist, wants to do a feature. The Secret Life of Harrison Ford, Hollywood's silent hero. The pitch includes interviews with people Ford has saved, photos from rescue operations, a deep dive into the 40-plus missions he's completed. The publicist forwards the request to Ford. His response is immediate. 2 words, "Absolutely not." The journalist tries again, argues that the story is inspiring, that it would restore faith in humanity, that it would show a different side of him. Ford's publicist delivers his final answer, "If you publish anything without my consent, My legal team will respond accordingly. The story dies, but the truth doesn't. December 2024. Cody Clausen turns 38. His son Jacob asks him the same question he's asked every year since he turned 7. Dad, will I ever meet the man who saved you? Every year, Cody says the same thing. I don't know. Maybe. This year, Jacob pushes harder. But you know his name. You could call him. Cody sits down, looks at his son, thinks about the letter he sent in 2003. The two-sentence response, the anger, the understanding. He says, some people save lives because they want recognition. Others do it because someone needs help. The man who saved me didn't need my thank you. He just needed me to live. And I did. That's enough. Jacob doesn't fully understand, but he nods, because he sees something in his father's eyes, not sadness, not regret, gratitude, pure, unspoken, eternal. That night, Cody writes another letter, not to Ford, to himself. He writes about Table Mountain, about the cold, about giving up, about hearing the helicopter, about waking up in warmth, about the voice asking about Emma, about the 24 years since then, about his wife, his kids, his rescue missions, about the 14 lives he's saved, about the fact that none of it would exist without June 14th, 2000. He ends the letter with one sentence. Some debts can't be repaid, they can only be passed forward. He seals it, puts it in a drawer, next to the photo, next to the quote, next to the empty space where the friendship bracelet used to be. Have you ever had someone save your life and then disappear before you could say thank you? Not a firefighter, not a paramedic, not someone whose job it is, just a person who had 1,000 reasons to say no and chose yes anyway. That's what real heroism looks like. Not a cape, not a soundtrack, not an audience, just a decision, a cost, and a silence that follows. Harrison Ford never talked publicly about June 14th, 2000, not because he was ashamed, not because he wanted mystery, but because turning rescue into narrative diminishes the rescue. When you accept the applause, you transform life and death into entertainment. And Ford spent decades pretending to save galaxies on film to know deep down what actually matters. Cody Clausen lived. That's what matters. He grew up, had a family, became a pilot, saved others, passed it forward. The ripple effect of one decision made in a makeup chair at NBC Studios now extends across 14 lives and counting. And none of them know Harrison Ford's name. They just know someone cared enough to show up. Maybe that's the hardest truth about real heroism. The people who change the world rarely get remembered. They just do what needs to be done, pay the cost, and move on. No cameras, no credits, no standing ovation, just the knowledge that when it mattered most, they chose right. Ford understood this 24 years ago. Hollywood still doesn't. The NBC interview that never happened cost him $1.2 million. The rescue that nobody filmed cost him nothing. But it gave Cody Clausen 24 years, and those 24 years gave the world 14 more saves, and those 14 saves will create ripples nobody can measure yet. That's the difference between being a hero in fiction and being a hero in life. One gets a sequel, the other gets silence, and the silence is where the real meaning lives. And unfortunately, they don't make men like Harrison Ford anymore.